Hello and welcome to Thirsty Thursdays with a therapist. My name is Jaleisha Gatling. I'm a couples therapist here in New York City, helping people to unpack the baggage that gets in between their relationships. Today's topic is in your feelings. Dot dot dot. Now, today's episode is for you if you are one of those people who has heard repeatedly, whether from current partners, ex-partners, or maybe people in your family, that you're too sensitive, you're so emotional, I can't talk to you, and you have this idea that perhaps you maybe overreact, and maybe your feelings, when you feel really hard and you feel completely out of control and super overwhelmed by your feelings, like you become entangled in them. This episode is for you if you can relate to that, or if you're hard on yourself for feeling how you feel and you have a hard time validating your feelings. It can be really difficult to get your point across in a meaningful way, in an effective way, if you yourself don't feel that what you're feeling is valid. And so I want to talk about how you can better come to find meaning in what you're feeling in a more constructive way, and how you can help to get that across to your partner or to whomever, so that they can really receive the message as well. So, the number one thing that you want to do is really notice what's happening in your body when you are feeling stressed out, or you feel attacked, or criticized, or you're feeling angry. Where do you hold those feelings? Where does it show up in your body? So, a good way to do that is just to become aware of your body. I mean, doing mindfulness techniques, that can be really, really helpful in just getting to know your body, and will help you to become more aware just in general. Do you hold your tension in your shoulders, in your stomach? Does it show up in a clenched jaw? Do you have a sense of where you hold stress in your body? And a great thing about knowing where you hold this and being aware of when it comes up in the moment is that it can be a warning sign. I hear from so many people that, oh, I don't know what happened, Jaleisha. I just went from 0 to 100 and I lost it. And that's not the way it happens. We have little physical warning signs that travel through our body that are alerting us that we are, in fact, reacting to something that has happened. The great thing about our bodies is that they can show us that we are reacting to a thought or a feeling, or both generally. And so the thing that you can really do is, if you notice that you're tense in one area and you're feeling really tightened, maybe when your partner's bringing up a certain subject, or around a certain time of day or date night or anything, you're noticing something and a pattern that comes up for you and you feel it in your body, it's telling you something. And so you've got to go and investigate rather than just react. And so essentially, you can use that tension in your body for good, in being able to step back and say, okay, what are the thoughts that are going on in my mind right now? What are the thoughts that are coming up? Because a lot of times thoughts are coming up in response to something, and then we begin to feel, and we basically assume that that thought is true. We make it reality, and that's where that reaction is coming from. So, an example might be seeing your partner talking or laughing with another woman, and you having a reaction and getting really upset and maybe tightening up in your body. If you could step back and notice that in your body, okay, what is your body reacting to? What thought, not what's happening, but what thought is your body reacting to? Maybe it's that, oh, I'm not good enough. Is he into her? Is he going to leave me like my last ex? What if he's going to cheat on me? I've been cheated on so many times. What is it about me that this keeps happening? Is this a warning sign? Should I leave? And just all these thoughts can start to spiral, and you're amplifying how you're feeling about it. But you're looking at that thought or those thoughts as truth and as reality, which is what can sometimes really spur us into what we might call an explosive episode, or reacting from that place without being able to step back and take note of what those thoughts are. And so, if you can step back and use what's going on in your body to unpack the thoughts that are coming up, you are in a much better space to, A, on your own, be able to separate reality and truth from the thoughts, and then to be able to have maybe more of a constructive conversation with your partner. Maybe not in that moment, maybe later that night, maybe later the next day, but you can start to talk about some of the things that were coming up for you, and seeing that, or what it brought up for you. So the next piece I want to talk about is self-compassion. Okay, I find that a lot of people who are really hard on themselves and tough on themselves, they tend to be super compassionate about other people and for other people, but they have very little for themselves. And so I want to encourage you to, if you're one of those people, to be more compassionate to yourself intentionally. And a good way to do this, if you really struggle with this, is to act as if the conversation that you might be having in your head, that internal dialogue about, I keep messing up, I'm so stupid, or whatever awful things you might find yourself saying to yourself over and over again, think about if your friend came to you and said that to you, what you would say to them. Because generally, we are a lot nicer to other people than we are to ourselves. And that's a really good way to make yourself step back and to have more compassion for yourself, as if your friend was having this dilemma or having some of these thoughts that were really negative, and that were perpetuating you feeling bad about something. And so, compassion. Now, I want to reiterate that self compassion does not mean ignoring how you're feeling or not acknowledging your feelings. That doesn't mean that we're just putting that in a box and not touching it. But I think self compassion can really allow you to own your feelings, feel your feelings, find meaning in your feelings without becoming entangled by your feelings, without becoming crippled by your feelings. Sometimes our feelings can be paralyzing. And so we want to get away from that. I want you to start to rewrite how you experience feeling your feelings, and that it doesn't have to be this extreme, crippling experience, that it can be something where you really learn something about yourself and where you're able to better communicate to others what you're going through, how you're feeling, and what your needs are. So I'm going to end on that. I do want to continue this conversation because there's another piece that I think really can get in the way of us finding meaning in our feelings and being able to feel them in a more productive way, and that is shame. Shame gets in the way a lot. And so we're going to talk about shame in the next Thirsty Thursdays in 2 weeks, if you guys will join me on Thirsty Thursdays, getting rid of the shame monster. So make sure that you check that out. Tune in for that. We're going to continue this conversation. In the meantime, if you are feeling some of the things that I spoke about, if some of that resonates with you, or you're feeling like, oh man, this is totally happening in my relationship, or I have a friend who's been struggling with this, send them my way, and let's set up a phone consultation. Let's explore if we might be a fit to work together to unpack some of this and help you to better really feel what you're feeling and process it in a way that's more conducive and not so overwhelming, because it doesn't have to be that way. I will see you guys in 2 weeks on Thirsty Thursdays with Getting Rid of the Shame Monster. Thanks.